Ms. Brewington and Mr. Lee are in Judge Lake's court to find out if Mr. Lee is really Ms. Brewington's baby father, but they are about to get the shock of their lives because we know that Judge Lake doesn't play.
Ms. Brewington, you are here to prove your 3-year-old son Giovanni is Mr. Lee's biological child and is denying paternity because he wants to avoid paying child support. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lee is smiling like he knows something isn't right, while Ms. Brewington is determined to prove to the world that Mr. Lee fathered her 3-year-old son. It's still sketchy right now, but trust Judge Lake to dig deeper till we know who the real father of the child is.
So, Ms. Brewington, you claim you are 100% certain that Mr. Lee is the father, and can you tell me how you know?
Yes, Your Honor. I am without a doubt 100% certain that he is my son's father.
Me Brewington says she's without a doubt certain Mr. Lee gathered her son as he was the only man she was seeing during the window of conception. To top it all off, they were trying to work on their relationship at that time also.
So when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't think it was going to be a shock or a surprise or anything like that.
And you say you know 100% you're not the biological father of Giovanni.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Oops. Mr. Lee says he and Ms. Brewington were in fact not having any type of intercourse or working on their relationship when the child came to life. That's his reason for believing Ms. Brewington is spewing lies and just wants to force the child on him. But Ms. Brewington cuts in to remind Mr. Lee they were living together and, most importantly, the same bed.
Your Honor, I was living with him. We were living in the same household, in the same bed.
Were you living in the same house?
Around the time, yes.
But you weren't together.
Exactly.
So were you sharing a bed?
Yes, ma'am.
And fluid.
Okay, Mr. Lee confirms they were truly living together and in the same bed, but there was no relationship. Ms. Brewington doesn't agree with that, as she says they were sharing fluids too. Now this is confusing. Mr. Lee says there was no relationship. Ms. Brewington says there was one they were working on. Who?
You can still be sexually active with one another and not be in a relationship. So I guess this does beg the question, were you still having sex?
At the time of conceivement, no.
So you're saying during the window of time when Giovanni was conceived, you are certain that even though Ms. Brewington lived in your house and shared your bed, you weren't intimate with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right. Was there an intimate relationship between these two? Mr. Lee says nothing like that happened during the window of conception. So Ms. Brewington gives us a detailed explanation on how she missed her birth control shot, and that led to the pregnancy, but Mr. Lee doesn't even believe her.
I do, because I'm gonna explain it to you, Your Honor. How she said her
He doesn't
birthday
wanna
is
pay
the
child
2nd of
support, Your Honor.
February.
It's not.
Her birthday's on the 2nd of February.
My
We
birthday's
was
on the
not
1st
cool.
of February.
2nd.
My birthday is on the, how you gonna tell me what day
It's
I
the
was
second.
born? I was born on the 1st of
He
February.
said it's the second.
Yeah.
So there's a back and forth about Ms. Brewington's birthday, and Mr. Lee seems to have a better hang of the date since there were a couple of memories attached to it. However, there's still a lot of back and forth concerning the pregnancy, as Mr. Lee denied it strongly at first, and then he changed his mind when he found out the baby was a boy. Okay, Mr. Lee is here denying again, so what's it going to be?
He came after I had given birth because he had work, but he showed right up. He actually didn't even, they asked about the birth certificate and everything. He signed the birth certificate.
She did not say that.
But you signed the birth certificate, right?
Yes, I did.
If you had all
The
this
whole time.
denial and you say she eating fast food,
Now there's an issue about Mr. Lee signing the birth certificate even though he wasn't convinced that was his baby. But Mr. Lee says he thought it was just the right thing to do at that moment. The right thing to do? Well, let's see.
Well, I had another reason I did not think that it was mine is one of her friends, a good friend of her, actually told me that I wasn't the father.
Really?
She told me that she
My
knows
friend
who's the
told
father.
him that because she
Excuse
wanted
me, I
to
was
sleep
talking.
with him.
I'm still
I
talking.
actually caught them sleeping together.
Oh, there's another person in the picture that may be the problem. Okay, that's complicated, but can we trust Ms. Brewington though? She is holding on to their resemblance even though she had told Mr. Lee multiple times he isn't the father? Whew. Let's get the result and know who the liar is.
Mr. Lee, you are not the father.
Told y'all.
Hold up.
I already knew. I told you.
Ms. Cotton wants Mr. Pendleton to accept that he's the biological father of her baby, but that won't just fly with Mr. Pendleton as he is ready to go to war to prove Ms. Cotton is just making things up.
Pendleton's meddling mother is the reason he is denying your 5-month-old daughter, Love Cotton.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Pendleton, you are here today with your mother.
Oh, So there's Mr. Pendleton's mom in the equation, and Ms. Cotton believes she is the reason Mr. Pendleton won't accept he's her baby's biological father. While that has been established, Mr. Pendleton's reason for not believing he's the baby daddy is that he allegedly cannot medically father a child. Okay, let's learn more.
First of all, I just want to say his mother needs to mind her business. Like, at the end of the day, and I understand he's a mama's boy or however she treats him because that's your child, that's fine and dandy.
Ms. Cotton says Mr. Pendleton needs to step up and stop being a mama's boy, as he's already a grown man that should be ready to take up his responsibilities. On the other hand, Mr. Pendleton says the baby looks nothing like him, and it's also impossible because he's been trying to have kids for years and nothing happened. Now it gets even more complicated.
But when she got pregnant, she told me she was pregnant. Like 2 weeks later, she called me and said it's a possibility, that the baby might not be mine. So if you call me and tell me that, then I'm not supposed to believe you.
Okay, so you slept with somebody.
Right, but how many times though? Like she told me it was once.
One time in April.
But how can I
and
believe
we were not
you?
together.
When
so
I'm
at the
saying
end of the
you
day,
tell
I'm
me
a
that
grown
you
woman. I
did
can
it.
do whatever I want with
So
my
how are you
body.
100% sure?
Oh, Mr. Pendleton's mother is really meddling, but okay. So now, Mr. Pendleton enters the conversation and reveals how he thinks Ms. Cotton is just playing with his feelings, since she had previously told him she slept with another person before the pregnancy situation came up.
It was protected until he took the condom off.
And that would be
But
unprotected.
she's 100% sure. So how can you be 100% sure if the guy took the condom off? You know what I'm saying? Like,
How can you be 100%
You can't.
sure, Miss Cotton? I mean, that really is the question of the day besides the paternity.
because allegedly she looked like me. But she a baby. She ain't got her features yet.
Okay, the timeline is saying something else, Ms. Cotton. If the protection broke off in the middle of the activity, well, the person is also a potential father. But then again, Mr. Pendleton seems to have accepted somewhere in his heart that the baby is his. Because why is he thanking Judge Lake for complimenting the baby? That's laughable.
We'll start with the meddling that she says I'm doing. The only thing I've done is tell him, I told him I didn't want him to bring the baby around me for the same reason.
But I didn't want my baby around you anyway. She has a whole family that loves her unconditionally.
But if she's mine,
she
though,
don't
then she
need
got
y'all
a
at
whole
all.
nother
I have been
family.
taking
Mr. Pendleton's mother says she isn't interested in meddling into her son's affair. She just does not want him to be a victim of paternity fraud, and that's also her reason for not getting close to the baby. Fair enough. And now Ms. Cotton is out here reminding the Pendletons when she was nothing but kind to them. That's fair too.
With your doctor's appointment because your conception date and the window got moved.
And they were trying to tell me that I wasn't as far as I knew I was. Like, they tried to make it seem like I wasn't, as far in my pregnancy. But I knew I was farther than what they were saying.
So you basically knew more than the doctor.
Ms. Cotton is maintaining her stance about her knowing her body more than any other person, which is fine. While ultrasounds may have their lapses too, it's unsure if that's what is happening in Ms. Cotton's case, but never say never.
That he is the biological father based upon the due date, right?
Yes,
Did you tell this other guy that he was a possibility?
he's relevant.
No, but did you tell him he was a possibility?
When I found out all the stuff that was going on, I was honest with him as well. Like,
That's my point.
Ms. Cotton says the other guy is irrelevant, but in the same breath saying she told him he could be a potential father to the baby too. Ms. Cotton's honesty is applaudable, but let's not get carried away because Mr. Pendleton got another girlfriend and things got rocky between him and Ms. Cotton.
This is in text messages on Messenger and Facebook. Like, shit, my mom up told her the same thing, the baby not yours. And then 2 weeks later or a couple of days, she'll hit me back like, oh, the baby yours. Like, make up your mind. Like, is it mine or not? Is it?
So, Miss Cotton, were you doing the back and forth because he was making you angry?
All of that back and forth, and there's last night? Is that a joke? Anyway, Mr. Pendleton pleads the fifth. Okay, going back to not being able to impregnate a woman, Ms. Cotton says it's not even once, but twice. Okay, we need the result to know if Mr. Pendleton really can't father a child, or he's just fooling around.
Mr. Pendleton, you are the father. So, congratulations.
This case of Ms. White versus Mr. Hollie has a lot more to it than anyone would expect. It's not just about proving Mr. Hollie is the biological father of Ms. White's child. Ms. White seems to have another skeleton in her closet. Let's find out what it is.
Ms. White, you are furious that your on-again, off-again boyfriend of 7.5 years got you pregnant and refuses to do anything for your daughter. You say he better step up and be a daddy when today's results prove what you have always known.
Ms. White says it is a 7-year on and off relationship, while Mr. Hollie says it was a 3-year on and off relationship. So now we are off to a bad start, as we don't know who is telling the truth.
Results are so important.
Today's result is important to me, Your Honor, because I grew up without my father. My father was deceased when my mom was pregnant with me, so I don't want my daughter to grow up without her father any longer.
You are overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed because I've been through too much by myself, and it's like...
Ms. White is on the stand being all emotional and teary. She's telling the judge she doesn't want to carry the responsibilities all by herself any longer, but it seems Mr. Hollie doesn't care about her emotions. It's hard to tell whether Mr. White is smiling or his face just looks like that. Let's find out more.
No.
And why is that?
Because I know I'm not her dad.
Okay.
Your Honor, it's like this. We was together for probably like 3 years. Around the time she got pregnant, Your Honor, we was living together. I was transporting cars from here to Miami twice a week. I would leave and go to Miami.
And so at that time, you did not feel like you and Ms. White were in a committed relationship?
Mr. Hollie says their intimacy wasn't even a frequent thing, and Ms. White is just trying to sweeten her story with the relationship troupe she is trying to build. Mr. White doesn't believe he fathered the child, and that's the reason he has neither seen her or tried to form a bond with her.
Take me to the day you find out you're pregnant.
I was having like this emotion, and I didn't know what it was coming from. You know, I just started feeling different. And one night I came home, me and Mr. Hollie was off this night. Only getting off of the relationship, I was still staying in his house.
There's another man. Now, Mr. Hollie's reason for being doubtful about being the biological father is valid, but we still can't rule out that he may be the father, even though Ms. White slept with another man. And there's the part where Mr. Hollie left the hospital after they told him his on and off lover was really pregnant because he believes that baby couldn't be his. We will find out if that's true or not, Mr. Hollie.
I do.
And Michaela.
Yes. When I was pregnant.
So when you gave birth, Mr. Hollie wasn't there?
I called Mr. Hollie. Mr. Hollie told me, okay, if that is my baby, you can't be calling me every day because I'm in a relationship and my girl won't be having that. And I was like, what?
So you admittedly have not had any relationship with Michaela.
The big gums, you say, Mr. Hollie? Okay. Anyway, Mr. Hollie is not accepting Ms. White's daughter because she doesn't have any of his features. Somebody put Mr. Hollie through biology so he'd know it's not only about bodily features, but for now, we need to know more about Michaela's biological father.
She didn't show up for neither one.
So you think she was dodging the test because she knows
that it's not my baby.
That Michaela's not your biological
baby.
child. Meaning you have made every attempt to identify whether or not she's your biological child.
She told me it wasn't my baby, Your Honor.
So Mr. Hollie says he requested for DNA twice and Ms. White was MIA. Now that's cause for suspicion. Mr. Hollie is saying Ms. White has even told him before that he isn't the father. That makes everything more complicated.
I got a phone call from Ms. White telling me that she was pregnant, but it was a possibility that it was somebody else's baby also.
So how did you find out she had the baby?
Picture sent to me via Instagram, and when I looked at the picture, I've seen that she was mine because I've seen how she looked.
What is the evidence you're holding?
The picture that was sent to me
Let me
via
see
Instagram.
that. So you got this picture on your phone?
Mr. Parker, who is the other guy in the picture, says he believes the baby is his baby since they have similar features. And about the DNA test with Mr. Parker, well, turns out it was a lie.
I've been taking care of all my other kids. Why would I not take care of her child? If it's my child, I'm gonna take care of my child. I got all my doubts. I feel like that's not my baby.
So you don't think Michaela's your biological child?
No, I don't.
But Mr. Parker, you do believe she's yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are hoping that she's yours?
I hope she's mine.
Mr. Hollie doesn't want the baby to be his, Mr. Parker wants the baby to be his, and Ms. White also wants the baby to be for Mr. Parker. So it's all good since Mr. Parker himself isn't flinching about the situation, but there's still a possibility of Mr. Hollie being the biological father. Let's find out.
Mr. Parker, you are not the father.
My Lord.
Are we ready for the next result?
Let's do it.
Mr. Hollie, you are the father.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, Mr. Parker.
When it's a woman suing a man, that's a normal and regular thing at Judge Lake's court. But two women coming together to sue one man, that's on a whole other level. So let's see how this goes.
Johnson, you both claim that you were pregnant at the same time with the defendant, Mr. Barber's children.
Yes, Your Honor.
You argue that he has not been a father to your kids and refuses to support them, but takes care of his other child.
Ms. Taylor and Ms. Johnson seem to have had their differences, but they are currently putting that aside to prove to Mr. Barber that he's the father of their kids, and he needs to step up and do better as their baby daddy. Mr. Barber says he doesn't have any problem with these women except for the fact that they demand for too much. Both parties now need to know about the paternity results and keep it moving.
Now, Ms. Taylor,
Yes, Your
why
Honor.
do you believe his other child and not you?
I believe that he supports his other child because he's still sleeping with his other child. Women pregnant at the same time, he is a dog. He doesn't do anything for my child.
Ow, that's a heated conversation. Ms. Taylor is done with Mr. Barber's BS and she's even calling him a dog? Seeing how Mr. Barber got 3 women pregnant at the same time? Well, anyway, Ms. Johnson butts in and confirms Ms. Taylor's story. Mr. Barber shouldn't have been sleeping with women he can't control since they are not his type.
You wholeheartedly admit that you are the father of all the children.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I saw the birth certificates,
I have signed every single one of them.
Ms. Johnson,
Yeah, he's on mine. Is he on yours?
You know mine.
Ms. Taylor,
Oh, okay. Cut the umbilical cord and everything.
What?
Did he cut the umbilical cord for you?
That was quite emotional for Ms. Taylor, seeing she's the only woman in the picture who Mr. Barber wasn't there for during labor. That's sad, but Mr. Barber said he was at work. But then again, Ms. Taylor says she can't believe that because Mr. Barber always lies. Okay, emotions are riling up and things are getting out.
But I didn't show up. I wasn't there.
You
I
did
didn't
not
show up.
come
I didn't show
until
up.
hours
I didn't show up, but
later.
why?
You did
Why?
not come until
Why?
hours
What did I tell you I was
later.
doing? What did I tell you I was doing?
What were you doing?
What was I doing? I was at work.
I don't know. You always lie. You always lie and say that you somewhere and you
I don't have to lie to you about where I'm at.
Lord have mercy. Mr. Barber is on the stand acting like he's getting sentenced to life imprisonment while he's only answering to his crazy lifestyle that led to multiple women allegedly birthing children for him. We wouldn't be here if you weren't everywhere, Mr. Barber. Time to tone it down a bit.
What I'm saying is, yes, I've done some things and I'm not perfect. No, I fall very short of that. But these women know that I love my children and they know that.
You don't
for
show
sure.
it.
How don't I show it? I just took my baby out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because
for you. What are you talking about?
Mr. Barber says the women know he loves his babies, but Ms. Taylor fights back saying he doesn't show it. It's hard to know who to blame here. But let's move on, because this case is about to get insane.
women stand before the court today and say that you haven't stepped up to the plate financially.
At that time, Your Honor, no, I was not.
And why was that?
Because at that
Explain
time I was going through a lot myself. I was still a kid. We were having kids. I've been in group homes since I was 12 years old. All I know how to do is take care of myself.
Okay, Mr. Barber has been through a lot himself, and he says that was the reason he couldn't come through for those kids. Yeah, we are meant to feel pity for Mr. Barber, but to be honest, he isn't the victim in all of these. The kids are.
So I actually can make money. I travel. I do things to actually provide for the children. I can take them where they clothes and shoes and things of that. Wait, please.
Miss,
like, that's not even true because I just took my son out.
Oh, Mr. Barber is an engineer now, and he claims he can step up to the plate and do right by his children. But these baby mamas are saying he hasn't done that yet. 2 packs and diapers, 3 outfits and shoes? Maybe Mr. Barber's engineering work is just taking off.
He had 3.
He had me, he had another female, he had her.
So you're telling me he had 3 women pregnant at the same time?
Yes, Your Honor. At the very young, tender age of 18.
And we were all 18.
All of these women and Mr. Barber at the young age of 18? Now that's wild. But okay. Ms. Cooper says Mr. Barber is capable of being a good father, and the mothers are the problem, because they probably had the children out of spite. Maybe we should get to the results before these women start tearing each other up.
When you got these women pregnant, you didn't know who you were. But now you said you found yourself. You know what you're passionate about. You don't want to let the client down, but most importantly, you have to remember you don't want to let your child. Do you understand? You have to now step up to the plate.
Mr. Patterson and Ms. Knight are in front of Judge Lake today to know if Mr. Patterson is really the father of Ms. Knight's child. Let's get to the bottom of this real quick.
Opened your case today to prove that you are 4-year-old DeMarcus Patterson Jr.'s biological father. You named him and have cared for your junior since birth and are furious the defendant now claims another man is his father. Is this correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Patterson really wants the kid to be his, as he's been there since he was conceived. But Ms. Knight changed her mind and decided she's unsure if the baby genuinely belongs to Mr. Patterson, and she wants to find out in Judge Lake's paternity court. Better late than never.
Patterson, you testify you've been there since day one. Please explain.
I've been there since birth, since he came out the womb, since he entered this world. When the doctor first, held him up and finally gave him to him, I witnessed him just completely quit crying and looked me dead in my eyes, and that's when
when, at that moment, I knew I became someone's father. So at that moment, like all the doubts that we had before.
So Mr. Patterson had his doubts before, but he let go of all of that after he witnessed the birth and felt a different way as he carried the baby in his arms. Those doubts can't be overlooked, so we need to know about Ms. Knight's messy affair.
That Mr. Patterson is not DeMarcus's biological father?
I let DeMarcus know when I got pregnant that there was a possibility that I could be pregnant by someone else.
So you were honest from the start?
From the beginning, yes.
Do you remember this conversation, Mr. Patterson?
Yes, Your Honor, in a way. When she first told me she was pregnant, that's when we was like...
Interesting. Ms. Knight has been honest from the beginning. Also, Ms. Knight says Mr. Peterson had cheated on her while they were in the relationship, and that was her reason for stepping out for a minute as things didn't work out on the other side. Mr. Peterson seemed like he really did want to be with Ms. Knight and her baby, though.
I decided to leave because I wasn't over the fact that he cheated on me with this female. So yeah, I did that. But I found out I was pregnant while I was with Ladarius.
Okay, I want to go step by step because I want to understand. When you left, you ended up with Mr. Siegler.
Right.
Which is the other possible father.
Right. We ended up having protected sex that night, and then we ran out of condoms, and while we were doing it, I told him to go ahead and get me pregnant. That's what I told him. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant.
It's clear as the day that Mr. Peterson would cross the 7 seas for Ms. Knight, because it's rare to find a man who would be comfortable with something like that. True love still exists, but still, we need to know the biological father of this baby.
Patterson Jr.,
well,
you
know
definitely had to agree to that. So you signed the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor, I signed the birth certificate.
Willingly?
Yes, Your Honor.
Without a doubt at that time, you went on and signed it?
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, I was going to do the DNA test.
Okay,
and I looked at him, and then that's when I threw the DNA test out the picture.
At that moment, DeMarcus said, that is my baby. His name is going to be DeMarcus Latarius Patterson Jr. And I don't care what y'all got to say, and that's what it was.
But if you know the real truth.
Love is playing a major role in this relationship, but at the same time, there's already an intruder, and that could turn the whole situation around. Naming a baby you aren't sure is yours after yourself is a big step for any man. But seeing how Mr. Peterson is in love with Ms. Knight and that baby, he would even lay down his life for them to love.
Really could potentially be the other man's child.
Well, it was a conversation between me and DeMarcus we had off. DJ turned about 3 months, and I looked at him one time, and I was like, wow, he kind of looked like Ladarius.
Oh, so you all were open about this?
Yes, always open. We would take rides to the gas station. He'd show me pictures of Ladarius, like, you sure this ain't that? You sure this ain't
I ain't gonna lie, first
and we were open about it, all very open about it.
This is a whole new level of maturity this couple have going on. They are even so open about the possibility of the other potential father. That's cool. Anyway, just because Mr. Peterson wasn't interested in dropping the half payment for DNA testing doesn't mean he hasn't been there for the baby, as Mr. Peterson strongly affirmed.
Her and the other guy in DeMarcus Jr.'s life as well. So you didn't want either guy to be left out until you knew for sure?
I guess. I mean, look, my godmama ended up sending me pictures of it, and me and DeMarcus actually was in the same vehicle at the same time when she sent this one picture.
The 4-year-old has already been introduced to 2 separate families. Ms. Knight says they are all a big happy family, and Mr. Peterson should stop pretending. No one can say for sure who the baby daddy is with those dates except for the DNA test result. We need to also hear Mr. Sigler's part of the story.
Patterson's name, but could potentially have your DNA.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you are DeMarcus Jr.'s biological father?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You do?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why do you believe that?
In the midst of me and Caitlin having dealings or intimacy, I was the one who told her she was pregnant.
Mr. Sigler also strongly believes he's the 4-year-old's biological father since he was even the one that made Ms. Knight realize she was pregnant. Okay, enough of this back and forth. It's time to know who DeMarcus's biological father is.
The biological father is Mr. Sigler. You are DJ's biological father, Mr. Sigler. What do you feel right now?
Hurt. Could have been avoided.
It could have been avoided?
I love that little boy right there. I know he's gonna be happy. You can bring him out right now, he's gonna run straight to me.
Mr. Jordan is done with Ms. Heim's tricks, and he's in paternity court to know if he's Ms. Heim's daughter's biological father. Ms. Heim, on the other hand, still believes Mr. Jordan is indeed the biological father of her daughter.
But 2 years later, you were told that another man is her biological father. You opened your case because you want DNA proof you are not the father so you can get your name removed from the birth certificate. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Heim, you admit to being unfaithful to Mr. Jordan, but say he is Caitlin's father.
Oh, Ms. Heim testified that she was unfaithful during the time she and Mr. Jordan were having sexual relationship. However, Mr. Jordan doesn't care he is getting different information after 2 years. He just wants to be out of the picture once the DNA test result reads that he's not the biological father.
Yes.
Explain.
She tricked me into thinking that I was the father. She tricked me into thinking that Caitlin was my first daughter. She tricked me into thinking that the other guy had done got a paternity test on Caitlin, because she told me, oh, he already got one, and you know what I'm saying? That's why I know it's just you. She tricked me into thinking that family was something sacred.
So Ms. Heim intentionally tricked Mr. Jordan into believing the baby was his because she felt he is a provider and her baby would be safe under Mr. Jordan's care. Mr. Jordan believed Ms. Heim was being deceitful.
He's a great father, and I only had sex with one man when we were together, and I had sex with him one time, but we've been messing around for 7 years, and I never became pregnant. I met Chris, and all of a sudden I became pregnant, so I know Chris is the father.
So wait, you're saying that you were only having sex with one other man?
Ms. Heim denied being deceitful, but she agreed Mr. Jordan is a great father to her baby. Ms. Heim says she slept with the other potential father just one time, and she firmly believes Mr. Jordan is the father of her baby. Not because of any solid evidence, but she just knows in her spirit that Mr. Jordan is her daughter's biological father.
Listens to his family members, my family members, the people on the streets, and everything about that. And I just came today to show everybody on the street, his family members, my family members, that he's the father, and I'm tired of it.
Because it is upsetting you?
Yes.
And it's because you feel like they're lying on you? Because Mr. Jordan says you consistently lie.
Ms. Heim says she's hurt because her daughter doesn't feel loved by Mr. Jordan any longer. But Mr. Jordan refutes the claim, saying there has never been a time where the baby felt less loved around him. Well, let's see what happens next.
And the nasty afterbirth.
Everything. You know what I'm saying? I was there for the weird pregnancy cravings. I was there to rub the feet. I was there to get up out my sleep at night to go get pickles and ice cream. That's what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I never grew up with my parents. You know what I'm saying? So I'm real big on being a parent to my child. That, like, when this little girl was born, like, that would change my life. Like, that would did it for me. That's what made me start going in a positive direction.
Family member ruins the sweet, happy family? That's sad, but not entirely. A family member got really messy, but with pictures coming up and seeing one's supposed daughter with another man, anybody would doubt the paternity and want to be out of the picture if he isn't the biological father.
And this is from Santavia's night, and it reads, me and my baby Kate.
My thing is, when would anybody get the time to even take my daughter over to somebody else's house? Like how am I the last person to find out?
Do you know who this man is, Miss Heim?
That's the guy I had sex one time with when I met Chris. That's the one that I was having sex since 2010.
So what was Caitlin doing on his lap?
Being the last person to know your daughter is getting fatherly love from another man is a different type of nasty. Ms. Heim seems like she doesn't want to say the truth, and that's what is causing a problem here. Dropping the baby off at another man's house without the supposed father's permission is way out of line. Mr. Jordan is right about objecting to that part.
Father is Mr. Jordan or Santavia?
Chris.
Have you ever told Mr. Santavia's Knight, this gentleman here, that he is her biological?
Okay, Mr. Santavius assumed, but it doesn't dismiss the fact that Ms. Heim is being shady. Mr. Santavius walks into the room and says his own side of the story, which is different to what Ms. Heim had said. So who's lying now? Mr. Jordan needs to know the truth.
How often do you see Kate?
I see Caitlin when he ain't got her, or the people who at the school ain't got her. So she gonna sit here and just keep the post of line instead of being real and just tell the truth. You know what I mean? It's still gonna come out anywhere it go. My baby, if it come out anyway, they gonna tell you.
Like she crying.
You gonna sit here, you gonna have to apologize to this man, gonna be crying. Still sitting here playing. Go on, tell the truth. Keep it real.
Thank you, Mr. Santavius, for advising Ms. Heim to stop lying because the truth is going to come out anyway. Mr. Jordan is standing there not knowing what to believe. It's time to put him out of his misery. Let's see the result.
The biological father is Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan, you are Caitlin's biological father.